drop $25, $40, or heck, even $50 on this brand new Toy Story games release, you probably have an important question that needs to be answered, and that is which version is going to give you the very best experience with these Toy Story games. Well, fear not, that is what this video is for. We're going to break down all of the details. We're going to talk about all of the different variations and what is good and bad about each one of the versions that are going to be releasing. We're going to break down both the digital releases as well as the physical releases, so you can kind of make a choice between those as well. Obviously, some platforms will actually have restrictions around that, so we're going to talk about those details, talk about price points, talk about what's included in the actual editions. So there's quite a lot to actually think about. Now, of course, guys, if you do find this video to be enjoyable and useful and help you in arriving at a conclusion, then of course, take a quick moment and leave a like. Thank you guys so very much for your kindness and your continued support. With all that in mind, though, let's get into the breakdown. So naturally, I think a good place to get started with today's video is to talk about when are these Toy Story games actually going to be available. And yes, you heard me correctly. I said games as in plural because I think some people are still a tad bit confused about the fact that these are two separate releases. We're getting something called Toy Story Retro Roundup, and we're getting the Toy Story 3 Complete Edition. So they are both releasing on October 15th of 2026. However, they are both available as separate purchases, or you can go ahead and bundle them together and do a little bit of saving in the process as well. Now, in terms of what the two games actually are, Toy Story Retro Roundup is really a collection of a bunch of classic Toy Story games and A Bug's Life, and that will include Toy Story, the original game for the Sega Genesis. You're going to get the SNES version and the Game Boy version. Then you're going to get Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue for the PlayStation 1. You're going to get Toy Story 2 proper for the Game Boy Color. You're going to get Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, which of course is the game based on the Buzz Lightyear Star Command animated series. And this will have two versions because you're going to get both the PlayStation 1 version of the game and the Game Boy Color version. Then you're going to get Toy Story Racer. Once again, you will get both the PlayStation 1 and the Game Boy Color version included. And finally, you will also have A Bug's Life included, which will have both the PlayStation 1 and the Game Boy Color versions available. So obviously, if you've kept track over the list there, you would know that you're getting a total of 11 games, 9 of which are Toy Story games. So if you're just a Toy Story fan, obviously you would probably be pretty happy to know that this is a very extensive collection of titles here. As far as other features, they did announce a bunch of other things like the ability to rewind and retry, save and load at any point in time. You're going to be able to use Rex's cheat codes. And they even announced that the game will indeed support both upgraded high-resolution graphics, or you could go ahead and switch back to the original sort of like PlayStation 1 graphics. So that's another choice that you could make. If you want a more intricate breakdown of all the little details, I made a separate video about that as well. I'll link it at the end of this video so that you could go check that out as well. And then when we're talking about Toy Story 3, on that front, this is a pretty exciting release as well. Of course, Toy Story 3 is a very, very highly regarded game, not just in the Toy Story community, but outside of that, it's regarded as one of, if not the single best movie-based tie-in game of all time. And beyond that, it is just a very, very, very beloved game that seems to have grown in popularity over the course of time. The good news on this one is that they will go ahead and have all of the playable characters available. So they did confirm that we're going to have access to all of the playable characters from Buzz Lightyear to Jessie to Woody and Zurg, which is super cool because some of those characters were exclusive with the original release. They also confirmed that the Toy Box mode will be available, so that's exciting. And then probably the single most exciting announcement is the fact that they confirmed that this version of the game will have up to 4K resolution on platforms that can support it and 60 frames per second. So this should be a very silky smooth experience with this title, probably going to ultimately be the single best way to play Toy Story 3, or at least here's hoping. So now that you have a pretty good firm understanding of the games and kind of what they actually offer, let's talk about the prices, because ultimately that's what you're here to do, to try to decide and make a decision about which edition you should buy. So as I mentioned, these are separate releases. So good news, if you're only interested in Toy Story, you can go ahead and buy it for $25. Also, as a slight aside here, when I'm mentioning dollars or any sort of amounts during this video, it is all in US dollars. So obviously convert that accordingly to whatever currency you might be living in. I can't go through the process of obviously converting to every currency on planet Earth. So just keep that in mind that when I'm talking about dollars during this video, I'm talking about American dollars. With that in mind, you can go ahead and buy Toy Story 3 Complete Edition for $24.99, or let's round up, 25 bucks. And the same goes for Toy Story Retro Roundup. It will also be available for $25. Now, when I mention that, that is only going to be available in digital form. That means that you'll be able to go ahead and access one of the digital storefronts, whether that be Steam, the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store, or the Nintendo eShop, and go ahead and purchase one or two of those games for 25 bucks. Now, if you're like me and you prefer to buy your games physically whenever possible in order to have, a nice little display case, put it on your shelf, it looks cool, you had an actual disc for your game, and plus obviously you always get the option to actually resell your game if that is something that you choose to do, so you get that nice little option available to you as well. Good news on that front as well, because these games will be getting a physical release as well. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat here, because neither Toy Story 3 Complete Edition or Toy Story Retro Roundup will be available as physical copies alone. Instead, what they're doing is they're bundling the two of them together and making them available for purchase. And you do get a slight discount, which is certainly nice. Of course, I think for some people that, let's say, maybe they were only interested in Toy Story 3 Complete Edition, they don't have an interest in Toy Story Retro Roundup, maybe this is a little bit of a bummer in the sense that you're kind of being forced to buy the other game as well. But I guess that's just the sacrifice you're going to have to make if you want a physical copy of these games. Obviously, if you don't care about the physical copy, then just go with the digital route and buy the individual game that you are more excited about. Now, for someone like myself who's excited about both releases, this is certainly great news. So, we're going to be getting physical releases for the following platforms. It will be a PlayStation 5 release, a PlayStation 4 release, a Nintendo Switch release, and a Nintendo Switch 2 release. And no, I did not misspeak there. So, if you're paying attention, you would definitely pick up on the fact that there is no, obviously, PC release. So, PC is digital only. But more importantly and more interestingly, Xbox Series X or S will not be receiving a physical bundle at all. So there will not be, unfortunately, any way to own these games physically if you are an Xbox player. Again, I'm not really sure why that decision was made, but I do have to share that information. So unfortunately, for all of you who are Xbox players and physical games collectors, you're gonna have to go with the digital version. That will be your only option, unfortunately. So no choice as far as physical options are concerned, for you guys. Now, in terms of price points, there is also some interesting stuff going on that front as well, because they did go ahead and confirm that the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 4 versions of this game bundle will cost you $40 or $39.99, which is pretty nice because you're essentially saving like 10 bucks if you were to buy both editions digitally, right? As I mentioned before earlier in the video, each one would cost you $25. That adds up to $50. So by buying the physical bundle where you're buying both of them together, you get to save 10 bucks, which is really cool. But interestingly enough, that savings will not apply to the Nintendo Switch 2 version. So the Nintendo Switch 2 version is the most expensive version of these physical releases, coming in at $49.99, or the $50 price point that you would pay for the digital separate purchases. So I guess you're not saving any money there, but it's just kind of interesting because I would expect the PlayStation 5 version to be kind of like the nicest looking and the best running version, just because the PlayStation 5 is a more powerful console than the Nintendo Switch 2, but yet the Nintendo Switch 2 physical release is the one that actually costs $49.99. So kind of a weird, interesting element about this entire release. Now, as far as timing on the pre-orders, or when can you actually make pre-orders, of course, as of right now, as of the time of this recording, all of the physical versions are already up for pre-order. So whether that be the Nintendo Switch 1, the Nintendo Switch 2, the PlayStation 4, or the PlayStation 5 release, you can go ahead and place your pre-orders right now, which is absolutely brilliant. On the digital side of things, you do not have the ability to pre-order the game yet. As of right now, you can just go ahead and wishlist the title but I'm sure that as we get closer to the release date of October 15th, they'll make the digital versions available for pre-order as well. And now that we've got all that out of the way, we come down to the most important question, and that is, which version should you go ahead and buy? And I think that it really comes down to, what are you looking to get from this particular release? I think majority of people are most excited about the Toy Story 3 Complete Edition, and I think if you're one of those people where the only part that you're excited about is that game and that release, then I think you should probably just go ahead and buy that game digitally for $24.99 or $25, and buy it on your preferred platform or console, wherever you play your video games, whether that be Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, or PC. I think that's the best, kind of most consumer-friendly price point and release as a whole. Or if you're someone like myself, where you're really excited for Toy Story 3 Complete Edition, but you're also curious to play and check out Toy Story Retro Roundup, I think it's an absolute no-brainer to go the route of the physical bundles for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, if you're buying the bundle version on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch, you get to save $10. So that's nice in and of itself. Buying those games separately on the digital storefront will cost you a total of $50, since each one will cost you $25. So getting the bundle and getting it for $40 is definitely really nice, because you get to save $10. On top of that, like I always say with physical game releases, you have that really a wonderful option of being able to trade your game. Yes, you also have a nice display item on your shelf if you're someone like me where you're collecting video games. It just looks cool and all that. But most importantly, from a consumer friendliness standpoint, you'll be able to go ahead and sell your game should you want to do that. Like, let's say you play these games, you love them, but you're like, hey, you know what? I had my fun, but I'd like to go ahead and recoup some of my cost. Or maybe you didn't even enjoy some of the games. The nice thing is that you can then go and sell that copy, recoup some of your money, and fund your hobby once again, buying a different game that you might be excited for. You could trade the game with a friend or a family member or something, be like, hey, I'll give you this for that, and so on and so forth. So I just think that it is imperative that when you have the option to buy a physical copy, why not go that route? I think it gives you so much more versatility in terms of how you can collect video games. So I definitely encourage you guys to go that route. And I know what Nintendo Switch 2 players are going to say, well, what about us? We don't actually get the savings. But yes, that is true. You will be paying the $50 instead of the $39 for the bundle. However, you're still paying the same price that you would pay for the digital version, except the digital version will not give you the option to trade or be able to sell the copy. So I still would encourage you to go the route of the physical copy if it is an option, just because, again, you'll always have that option to either trade the game with someone else or sell the game and recoup some of your costs. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer to go that route if you're interested in both of these releases. And so there you have it. I hope you guys found this video to be useful as we broke down all of the details and all of the differences for the different editions for Toy Story Retro Roundup and Toy Story 3 Complete Edition, as well as the bundled release. Hopefully you guys found the video useful and informational, and if you did, please don't forget to take a quick moment and leave a like. Share it with a fellow Toy Story fan who is maybe trying to arrive at a decision in terms of like, hey, which version should I buy? Which version should I pre-order? What platform should I play on? So there you go, just a little bit of clarity on that front. Thank you guys so very much for watching today's video. I hope you guys all have an absolutely fantastic rest of the day. Peace out. See y'all laters, alligators. Bye-bye, everyone.